Okay, thank you everybody for coming out today. I'm Richard Williams, CEO of Strongbow Exploration, and we're in the process of advancing the South Crofty tin project in Cornwall to a production decision. This may come as a surprise to a lot of you, but Cornwall is one of the largest tin provinces in the world. The province stretches all the way from the southwest Scilly Islands off the Cornish coast, right through Cornwall into Devon. And that area covers a distance of just over 200 kilometers. Within Cornwall, there's something like 15,000 shafts estimated within the county, over 2,000 mines documented historically. And it's been a very prominent tin producer in the past. In fact, it dates back to Phoenician times, where Cornwall was a trading post where tin and copper was produced, and it was also one of the main reasons why the Roman Empire expanded to the UK, and that was to access copper and tin after the supplies in Portugal and Spain were exhausted, and the Roman Empire needed to make more bronze for weapons and armor and protection. So very, very long history of copper and tin mining, and as I said, our focus is the tin opportunity at South Crofty. One of the major themes of the presentations today, which resonates with us, is the Esg theme. Because of the long history of mining in Cornwall, there is incidences of environmental contamination with mine waters emanating from old mines. Where we benefit from here at South Crofty is that we're actually going to build a water treatment plant and end up improving the quality of the local watercourses. So that's been very well received by the local communities, to the point where Cornwall Council has actually indicated that they would participate in a funding of the company as we approach an AIM listing. And I don't think you can get a better endorsement from local authorities to see that use of taxpayer money, not just lip service, but real taxpayer money going towards job creation in this area. What you see on this map here is an outline of what we call our underground permission area. It covers about 1,490 hectares. It underlines the towns of Camborne and Poole. Camborne is very famous as a mining school in the past, has produced some of the world's best mining engineers, mine geologists, surveyors, mineral processors. So we have a wealth of experience available to us in the local community. Within that project, the blue area is land that we own, which is permitted to build the process plant. So again, from a permit risk perspective, we have a mine permit that's in place for another 52 years until 2071, and we've got planning permission to build a new process plant and very strong support from the local community. The people involved in the company, I'm the CEO of the company. I've worked in the mining business for the last 30 years, Africa, Central America, South America, based in Canada today, but really the focus is South Crofty for us. Owen Mylop, who's here today, he's a mining engineer. He was a director of mining for Waddell Armstrong. He's worked on a number of projects, taking them through into production, through the feasibility stage. And Matthew Hurd is our CFO. Matthew's based in the UK, formerly CFO of Kazakmis, now Kaz Minerals, and after that Sierra Rutile Mineral Sands in West Africa. Today we have just short of 87 million shares issued and a market cap of around 7.5 million Canadian dollars. So South Crofty, for any of you that know anything about the tin world, or in fact mineral deposits in general, I think grade is king, profitability is very important, and South Crofty is one of the highest grade tin resources in the world. It's number 3 on the list as far as I'm aware. We heard from Bert Koth earlier about the Bissy project in the DRC. That's very high grade. The 2 other projects that are in production currently are Mincer's San Rafael mine in Peru and Renison Bell in Tasmania, and South Crofty sits right in the gap between those 2. The project's got a very long history of mining. In fact, the earliest recorded production at South Crofty dates back to 1592, and the mine over time was a consolidation of about 26 mines into what we have today. And that region, which is called the Central Mining District in Cornwall, has produced something like 450,000 tons of tin metal. Alan Clark from Queen's University, a world-renowned researcher into projects like this, describes South Crofty as one of only two supergiant load tin deposits known globally, the other being Mincer's San Rafael mine. I'd mentioned earlier the permits that we have in hand. The other thing that really attracted us to the project, our largest shareholder is a Canadian company called Osisko Gold Royalties, and their focus is to find good projects in good jurisdictions that have the potential for a long mine life so that they would benefit from royalty payouts from that operation. And more importantly, something that's got a history of production or is advanced so that you mitigate a lot of the risks associated with a new mine. So we know what the geological controls are on mineralization. We know how the ore reacts to mineral processing. We know what the recoveries are like. And South Crofty historically produced a very clean tin concentrate that was very much in demand. And the processing was very successful. You're looking at 88 to 90% recoveries. On top of that, Cornwall today is in some ways a deprived region within the UK. It's one of the lowest income per capita regions in the UK. It's probably the biggest recipient of EU subsidies over the last 15 years. And the reason for that is that most of the employment today is service sector and or tourism related, which is minimal wage, even though the county in the past generated huge wealth for the UK through mining operations. And one of the things we've been keen to point out to Cornwall Council is that they've got a resource that really is, and excuse me for using the term, but Brexit proof. You can't move an ore deposit. And this has the potential for becoming one of the first primary tin producers in Europe. You've got secondary tin produced as a byproduct from some of the operations in Portugal and Spain. But this has a real opportunity to lead the charge and supply Europe and potentially North America with tin for the high-tech world. So the process for us as we stand today, when we acquired the project in 2016, we published the first 43-101 resource report. We followed that up in 2017 with a preliminary economic assessment that shows that the project is economically viable. The main thing for us to advance the project is that the mine today is flooded. When the mine closed in 1998, the pumps were turned off and the mine filled up with water. So we are looking to advance the project through raising funding to build a water treatment plant, dewater the mine. The plant would take 6 months to build. The mine would take 18 months to dewater. And during that process, we would plan to complete a feasibility study, which would include the drilling of around 26,000 meters of underground drilling, which would feed into a feasibility project, and then look at accessing project financing. If we had the money today, then 2 years from today, and then be in production within 3.5 years. I mentioned earlier, grade matters. This is a summary of the PEA that we published. The average grade of the mineral resource estimate in the indicated category is around 1.8% tin. What does that equate to in dollars per ton value? If we factor in mining dilution and we end up with a head grade of around 1.55% tin, you're still looking at $300 per ton value for the rock that we plan to mine. Our operating costs, mining, processing, G&A, we estimate to come in at around $110 a ton. So you can see there's a very healthy margin within the project from that perspective. We are limited in the scope of the current PEA by the resource that we have, which outlines an initial 8-year mine life. But again, it's very important to point out that the mine never had an 8-year mine life historically, but operated for 400 years. And the attraction to us is that having looked at the regional potential within Cornwall, you've got a mine here that has formerly 26 mines, 47 mineralized lodes. Some of those lodes are up to 4.5 kilometers long. They've been mined from surface to a depth of 1 kilometer in some instances. But the progression of the mine over time has been initially a near-surface copper mine. That's how South Crofty started its life. And as those mines descended from surface to 200, 300, 400 meters depth, they started losing the copper and then entering into an underlying high-grade tin zone. And that tin zone was really the focus of mining over the last 100, 150 years. And as the mine got deeper, they were entering some really high-grade tin mineralization. So it's wide open from an exploration potential, and we believe this could be an operation for a long time to come. Our plans currently are to look at 1,000 tons per day operation. It would, as I mentioned earlier, create a tin concentrate grade with recoveries around 80 to 90% tin. More importantly, it creates a clean concentrate. What we are mining is really benign from an environmental perspective. It's quartz veins with cassiterite mineralization. The historical mining, which was near surface in the copper zone, had associations with copper, zinc, tin, and arsenic. We're avoiding that. We're going to the underlying clean tin mineralization. Also, from a mining perspective, what we're looking at is putting the tailings back underground. So again, you're not dealing with a tailings issue on surface. We have something in the order of 8 million cubic meters of underground void space from historic mining activities that can be used as a tailings repository. The table on the right here just shows where South Crofty sits in comparison with other tin projects globally. And again, you can see it's right at the top there, 1.8% tin, third on the list, and fits right between two existing mining operations, Mincer's San Rafael mine in Peru and the Renison Bell mine in Tasmania. A little bit about the tin market. I think most people up until the last year or so just viewed tin as a very old-fashioned metal used in tin cans, tin roof. There was a very important graph published by Rio Tinto last year at the Battery Metals Conference, which was the summary of a research project done at MIT in Boston. And that research project looked at new technologies, which was very much the theme of the previous talk, and what that could mean to the high-tech world and which metals would be most impacted by adoption in the world's current economy of some of the technologies like electric vehicles, power generation, power storage, the Internet of Things. And lo and behold, the metal most impacted by growth and adoption of those technologies was tin. Coupled with that, you've had a period since 1985 of underinvestment into the tin world. The tin price collapsed in 1985 due to oversupply of tin from areas like Brazil, principally Malaysia, alluvial tin, and a lot of that tin has now been mined out. The oversupply problem was compounded by the US government deciding at that time to sell off their strategic stockpile, and that's also gone. Tin is now back on the strategic list of metals in the US, and people are becoming much more aware of the security of supply, certainly in light of the current ongoing trade wars, tariff issues that we are seeing, highlighted more recently by the rare earth element issue and how that affects the US and military applications. So tin is a very important part to play in the high-tech world as we change from current world economy into the more modern economy. In fact, the International Tin Association are projecting what they call a high-tech super cycle, which is due to start in the next 5 to 10 years as we make that transition into the modern economy, and that will have a very positive impact on tin, and I think South Crofty is a very important part to play in that development. And we see that reflected in the tin price over the last 10 years, or actually this graph is from 2016, but tin price is up 47% over that period. So just to summarize on the project, why participate in what South Crofty is doing here? It's a real opportunity to have British tin supply the high-tech world. This could be the only tin producer in, I don't know, for want of a better term, the Western world. There's never been any domestic tin production in the USA. There's no primary tin production in Europe today. It is a viable project, but more importantly, on top of the permits that we have, I think you can have all the permits in the world. If you don't have the social license and the support of the local community, you'll never get a project into production. And that's reflected by the Cornwall Council decision to make an investment into the company. And we benefit from this region having a long history of mining. The local community is very familiar with how mining works. The job creation, the impact that that job creation would have on the local economy is very positive. So there you go, that's the summary of the project, and I'll be around all day if anybody has any questions. Thank you.